Hey everyone, this is Caly. Welcome. I'm so excited you're here. I am sharing a really colorful card today using the Celestial Wishes stamp set, along with some products from the May 2024 card kit. The images from this card kit are really whimsical and they lend to a really dreamy kind of tarot card feel. So I spent a lot of time looking up inspiration for this kind of theme so that I can come up with 3 different projects using card kit contents. So I'll share my first 2 projects later if you haven't already seen them on my blog and on social media. Today's project is going to be a little different from those 2. It's going to be super colorful, and I'm starting out with distress watercolor cardstock because it's a great cardstock that will hold water for ink smishing, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. Before I start that fun process, I want to do some embossing with some of these images just so we can have some emboss resist in the background. And I wanted to show a burst of these sun rays here. So I am going to stamp that first with some clear embossing and watermark ink. Then I'll take that out of my MISTI so that I can freehand some stamping with these stars. And I'll go all around that sunburst image so that I can get stars all around. And then I'll sprinkle white embossing powder over this entire panel to cover all those areas that I stamped, and then I'll heat emboss that. Okay, so now my panel is ready for some ink smishing. I wanted it to be really colorful, and this kit does come with 2 exclusive mini ink cubes that are not out yet. Terracotta and Zest are new colors in a group of inks that recently came out but are not available as ink cubes yet. So that's exclusive to this kit, and I'll be using those 2 colors for the ink smishing. I'm also adding a few other colors because I really wanted a rainbow of colors. So as you can see here, I'm using some cellophane. I actually just cut it from a piece of stamp packaging. Then I took my ink pad and smushed some color onto my glass board, spritzed it with some water to water it down, and then I'm using that cellophane or packaging to pick up the pigment and transfer it onto my cardstock. The transfer of each of these colors is very organic, and as you can see, it's not perfect. It's splotchy, it looks like watercolor, it kind of looks like splatters. I just love the way there is a little bit of control there, but not much. And as you can see, between colors and between layers, I do dry it with a heat tool. This allows you to layer the inks or add more texture with the next layer or application of color. So I'm just going to work my way through the rainbow here, and I started off with the warm tones at the top, and then I'm going down with the cooler colors at the bottom. First I'm adding teals, and then I'll add blues and purples. I do want to point out though, you do not have to use a heat tool after each application or color. It just depends on whether or not you want those colors to blend together, and with each application of the acetate or cellophane onto the cardstock, if you enjoy the placement of that pigment and how it looks, then you can just leave it alone and move on to the next application or with your next color. I'm going to finish up here with some purple, and I know we embossed some stars in the background. Some of it is showing up. Some of the pigment from the dye inks is sitting on top of the embossed areas. So if you wanted to, you can carefully wipe away the pigment that's sitting on top of those embossed areas with a slightly damp cloth or paper towel. You just want to make sure that you don't scrub the areas. You just want to lightly swipe over it so that it doesn't affect the ink smushing that you applied. Okay, so I did splatter it with some purple ink to get additional texture in the background. Now I'm using a circle mask, and I'm going to mask off the sun rays in the background. And I wanted to do this because I saw some inspiration that made this galactical background look kind of like a moon. So I am using that purple ink and just applying ink all around the mask, more at the bottom than at the top. So it gives this card more dimension, and it looks like the moon is there with the rays at the center. I think it's looking really cool because you can kind of see those stars in the background too. And as I lift away that mask, that circular moon shows even more. So I'm going to set that aside and work on stamping some of the images from the Celestial Wishes stamp set. I chose this dragonfly. It's a great focal point, and I wanted to make it colorful as I can with a solid dragonfly image. So I'm using some of that purple, some of that same pink, and the blues, and I'm applying the color with the tiny blending brushes that are a part of the card kit. The card kit comes with a set of Tim Holtz Ranger tiny blending tools. There are 2 blending tools as well as 4 foam applicators. So I'm using that tiny blending tool to pick up pigment from my ink pad, applying it to my stamp, and then transferring that color onto my stamped image. But that creates a really good gradient of colors when I'm switching between purple, pink, and the blue. So I do this 3 times to get a nice gradient of colors and a really dark and good impression on that dragonfly before I move on to stamping the sun. I used the Zest color for the solid stamp, and then I applied some terracotta ink all around the sun to give it some additional texture. Then I did the same thing with 2 crescent moons. I stamped it with a lighter blue and then used my tiny blending tool to apply some darker color around the edges to give it additional dimension. Off camera, I die cut everything out. I should mention that the card kit comes with Celestial Burst die for the sun rays, but it doesn't come with the die set that will die cut all the accessory images from this stamp set. So if you want that, you'll have to get that set separately. So as you can see, I am attaching these accessory images with some 3D foam squares, and that's going to give the card a bit more dimension. Working on the sentiment now, I am going to emboss the thank you sentiment from the Celestial Wishes stamp set, and I'll emboss this in white over black cardstock. When I'm done stamping and embossing this sentiment, I can die cut it with the coordinating die that comes in that accessory die set that I just mentioned. Before I attach that, I'm going to attach my card panel to a card base, and I'm going to make sure that that holds down really well because that distressed watercolor cardstock does warp a little bit with all that ink smushing. And I'll use my T ruler to make sure that those crescent moons are aligned and that thank you sentiment is straight on my card. And that finishes this colorful card. I wanted to share with you the other 2 cards that I made using the Celestial Wishes stamp set and the May card kit for 2024. These cards use more of the images from the pretty stamp set, and I wanted to share with you the other inspiration that I created for release night, as well as the social media reel that was shared. If you're not already a subscription member for the Simon Says Stamp Card Kit, you can save $5 a month by signing up now. There's no fuss to being a member. You can cancel or skip a kit anytime you want. I hope you enjoyed these projects. If you're interested in any of the color combinations or additional details, be sure to check out the links below as well as on the coordinating blog post where everything will be linked and provided for your convenience. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye everyone!
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.